There it is. Okay. Now, let's see. Right. Here we go. All right. Here we go. More. Hold on. Stop recording. Recording. Oh. All right. Now we're learning, God willing, the fifth chapter. There it goes. Okay. All right. This is for Yud Aleph Nisan. This is the mimer that the Rebbe said for Yud Aleph Nisan about the Shevet Ashta that he brought his sacrifice on Yud Aleph Nisan. He brought it back then when the Chanukah Mizbeach, when they were just bringing the every tribe brought his the sacrifices. So it says that Asher, he brought a sacrifice because he chose God, because God chose him. So now we're talking about what does it mean choosing? What's this idea of choosing? So the Rebbe is going to explain choosing is a very, very deep thing. Choosing, free choice. Free choice, that's really the essence of a human being. The essence of a human being is that he has free choice. And especially that's what the Jewish people are different than the non-Jews, because the Jewish people, they can really choose Hashem. And there's all sorts of levels of choosing Hashem. There's religious Jews, there's religious Gentiles also. What does it mean that only Jews can choose Hashem? So the Rebbe says, I'm going to tell you an example of what is choosing. It says in the Midrash that once upon a time there was a king came to the town, and with all of his company, his dukes and his barons and his nobles, his princes, and the whole crowd was there. Then there were these big, influential people. They're watching the king coming with everybody, and one of them says, I think I'm getting good with this baron. I want to get in good with the baron. I'll pick the baron. Another one says, I'm going to pick the duke. I think I can get in with him. And then another one said, no, I'm going to get in with this prince. With the prince, I can get in. There was one really clever one, and he said, I picked the king. I'm going to get in with the king. So the Rebbe says, he says, why do I pick the king? Because all the others, they're here today, gone tomorrow. They're temporary. And the king, he's permanent. So that's it. It says, I don't know, Nasiv Malka. Nasiv means he chooses. So this is an example of using your free will, your choice. That's free will. Choose the king. So the Rebbe says, one second, that doesn't make any sense. That's not free will. That's called, he chose, and what's so clever about it? Free will means that it's a hard decision to make. It's a really hard decision to make. Because two things are equal. Or they're equal, each one has equal benefits. They're equal, and it's a very, very hard decision you made. It's the type of thing you flip a coin over. You flip a coin. But here, I'm not going to flip a coin. I'm going to choose. So the Rebbe says, choosing the king, that's really called choosing. So the Rebbe says, why is that called choosing? That's not called free will. And so change the definition of what choosing means. Choosing is supposed to be when two things are equal and you choose one of them for some sort of a deep, hidden, mysterious reason that's inside of you that you really don't even understand. You just choose, this is one I choose. It's not like you don't care. You make it's a choice that comes from deep wisdom. If the two things are equal, it must be that you realized that there's something about one of them that you're willing to lose the other one. You're willing to lose the other one, and you're willing to choose this one. That's called really choosing. So the Rebbe says, let's see, does this make any sense? I mean, you have to be such a genius to choose the king. The king, he's the king. He controls the whole country. The duke and the barons and the others, they have their little areas that they control. What's a big thing about choosing the king? The king. Not only that, the king, why do you have to bring another reason? That the king, he's permanent and the others are temporary. You have to bring another reason. You have the first reason is good enough. The king is the ruler over everything. So how does this Midrash express the idea of free choice, the deepest free choice, and how was he so clever that he realized you have to pick the king? What's so clever about it? So I think now we're in paragraph Hey. Huh? Think so?
Yes.
Paragraph Hey. The reason for this, the clever one, said that he chose the king and he didn't choose all these other nobles. Now again, what does it mean that he chose them? What does it mean that he chose them? He chose them. He says, "This one, I'm gonna put my emphasis on this one. Here, I'm gonna put my work, and he's gonna be my, how do you want to call it? I'm gonna have him sort of under my control. He's gonna be. I'm gonna make friends with him. I'll make friends with the duke. I'll make friends with the baron. In other words, I'll make friends with the prince. You make friends with them." He says, "No, I'm gonna make friends with the king. I'm gonna make friends with the king." So each one wants to pick his one that he's going to put all of his efforts in, his lobbying. Oh, he's going to put his lobby, right, his emphasis on influencing the prince, the king, the baron, the duke. And the clever one says, I don't want the duke. I'm going to take the king. I'm going to make an influence on the king. He says, that's really clever. That's really clever. Well, okay, let's see. We'll see. What is that? I mean, either he's stupid because you can't have an influence on the king. If you really can't have an influence on the king, then he's right. And it's not so clever. If he really has the ability to do it, who's going to pick the duke if you can have an influence on the king? Well, of course. So let's see. Says the Rebbe, what's so clever about this one that he picks the king? And of course, this is talking about us choosing God. But here he's talking about where this choice should come from. Listen, it's very deep. And it's also about the birthday of the Rebbe, because the Rebbe is the one that brings all of the Jews to make this tremendously deep choice, to make this tremendously deep, and if you want to call it a clever, wise choice that nobody would even think of making. The Rebbe is that's the idea of the Melech HaMashiach. The Melech HaMashiach is going to change everybody's choice. People are going to choose their own free will. It's not like when Moshe took the Jews out of Egypt. They had no choice. They had a little choice. It says that but basically he pushed them out. So in the future it's going to be that the Melech HaMashiach is going to change everybody's choice. People from their inside, their kishkes, are going to choose Hashem. And which level of Hashem? So now we're going to see this. The Rebbe works it out gradually. Because we also don't want to make that choice. The Rebbe is going to put the reason for the clever one, that he chooses the king and he doesn't choose the ministers, who is because the kulahu mischalfim, because all of the others they change. And the king doesn't change. Or at first glance, it could be say that why did the clever one say, I'm choosing the king because all the others they change, they go away, and the king is permanent. Maybe what he wanted to say by this is that the benefit that comes from, and you see this the opposite side, the side of selfishness. So this whole thing is a big metaphor for choosing God, choosing the duke and the baron. That's like the other religions. The other religions, they get blessings. You see, there's huge churches, huge mosques, huge whatever temples, all these things. Even though it's true that from the power of klipa, power of selfishness, power of idolatry, there comes more benefit than it comes from the holiness. Here we see, right? What do we say? The righteous people, they suffer, and the evil people, they succeed, right? Titus takes over the world, Ahasuerus takes over the world. Who takes over? King Solomon, briefly. And he didn't take over the world. It's just that his wisdom conquered the world with wisdom. Everybody came, but he didn't really conquer the world. And these people are conquering the world, right? Stalin, all these people that killed the Jews. Mashkamo, Hitler, right? All these people are so powerful. Muhammad takes over billions of people, billions and billions and billions. No, it pays off, pays off. Why do they get so much power? Who is because because it's temporary. Ain't no kill, doesn't last long. You see any Babylonians running around? Roman Empire, where is it? Nowhere. Because after they become what's called birur, birur means taking the bad from the good, or the other part, taking the good from the bad. Birur means when there's two things mixed in together, and you remove one of them that you either want or don't want, and it ends up that the one that you don't want gets thrown away, and the one that you want you take. So if you take the good from the bad, it's on Shabbat. On Shabbat, it's permissible to take the good from the bad. If you want, you have two types of food. Let's say if you have food and there's little pebbles in there, right? So it's permissible to take the good from the bad. You can't take the bad from the good. You can take the good from the bad on the condition that you want to eat it right now. You want to use it now. Good has to do with in the time of the meal. Nevertheless, it's permissible to take. That's called borer. Borer means you take the good from the bad. Also the same thing. All these big empires that rose up and they conquered the world, as soon as they filled their purpose, the good was removed from them. Then they just fell down. It was just as soon as they became what was it, decadence and corruption. And these people, they thought they could do anything. They became purely bad. And then that's it, especially when they decided they wanted to do something against the Jews, then their empire ended. Because Yibora and Nitzutz is when the good, that was the good sparks, they're called sparks, when the good that was in this evil was taken away, and that's the whole reason that they existed, the Roman Empire and all these empires, why they existed. Then what happened is, then they just totally go away. Much more so regarding the Jewish people. That even now, that the Jewish people can receive chayus, life, from the side of, what do you want to call it, impurity, it's only temporary. Right, nowadays a Jew doesn't keep Shabbos and he makes $1 billion. Right, he eats not kosher food and he wins the Olympics or whatever it is. He wins the Olympics. Says that's only temporary. This is not going to last long. Okay, and who, and so it is the other way around. That's what it means that the dukes and the barons, they're only temporary. And also the other way around, the kedusha, this which the influence, the life force that comes from holiness, it's very, very limited, very small. So that's only now. After there's revealed the shorsh, the chayus panimi, the inner life of everything, that comes from this level, which is called the inside of the makif. And we'll explain this idea is what is the inside of the surrounding. We'll talk about this in a second. I'll tell you a good story. Hashpa mikadusha tiyeh b'riboy gadol. Then there'll be a tremendous riboy, a tremendous. What do you want to say? The amount, quantity, a tremendous quantity, more than the riboy shenishpa michitzonius amakif, and that success that will come from the holiness will be infinitely greater than the success which nowadays comes from klipa. Let me explain. I want to tell you a good story. I had a person I loved very much who had a tremendous effect on my life, and his name was Rabbi Abba Pliskin. It's called in the language of Hasidus called a mashpia. And he told me a story that it affected my life very much until right now, and I'll tell you the story. He said that he heard from his teacher. Let me get this thing straight how it goes. He heard from his teacher, one of his teachers, and if I'm not mistaken, it said it was from Ichi the Masri. It was another Hasidic Jew. He said that the Hasidic Chabad, they sit up on Thursday nights, late at night, and they learn this book called Lakuti Torah. This is whatever a Jew does in this world, God does correspond. The Jew learns Torah, God learns Torah opposite him. A Jew prays, because the Jew puts on tefillin, God puts on tefillin. What that means, in the spiritual world, there's also big changes, like there is here. He says, but God already knows Lakuti Torah. So what does he do? He said, God spends all Thursday night to find a holy coin, a holy, $10 bill for a teacher of children. for a teacher, someone who teaches young children Torah. Thursday night, God looks around and tries to find a holy coin, matbea kadosha, a holy coin, for a malamed tamilkos, for a person who is a teacher, teaches Torah to young children. So he heard it, but he didn't understand it. So afterwards, he heard a story. This I have either he heard the original one from somebody, and that Itchy the Masmid, he told him the answer or what. But anyway, whatever it is. Anyway, afterwards, he heard an explanation. The explanation was like this. Once there was a great rabbi, a great rabbi. His name was Reb Zusha Me'anipoli. And he used to go to a town. From one portion of his life, he would go to a town, settle down in a synagogue, and start to learn. He was a tremendously holy person. His learning was, who knows what it did in the upper worlds and what it did in this world. And all the time he would sit there, someone would bring him food. Someone would notice him, and they would bring him food. And they would feed him. He would sit in the Beit Knesset there, and then that's what he would sit. He would lay down, he would sleep, he would eat, and that's what he would sit. He would sit for a week or whatever. He would move from a place to place. Once it happened that he came to a place and someone brought him food. And that person got sick. And nobody brought him food. And he sat there for 3 days and he didn't have what to eat. And finally he said, God, Zusha is hungry. And there grew manna from heaven. Man grew in his mouth. And he ate, that's what he ate. He ate the man. A story. So you can ask the question, why did God have to do such a miracle like this to make man? Just have somebody else notice him. I mean, he was sat in a Beit Knesset, in a synagogue. There's a lot of people there. People come, people see him sitting there all the time. And Jews are usually, warm-hearted people, right? A Gemili Chasadim. Someone would ask him, hello, how are you doing? Usually in a synagogue, and people go and ask, hello, how are you? What's your name? You have something to eat? Nobody noticed him. Why didn't God just make it that somebody noticed him and gave him food? So the answer is because there was nobody in the town that had the merit to feed him. In other words, there's different types of food. There's regular food, and then there's holy food. There's holy food. No one had the merit to help this person. It says the same thing with the coin. Other people will earn $100, $1,000, $1 million. And a teacher that teaches pupils Torah, he only gets $1. But the $1 is a holy dollar. That holy dollar, it buys less food and everything, but the food that it buys, it manages to satisfy you. And the energy that you get from the food, it always manages to give you good ideas and good things and make you less uptight and more believing in God, more friendly, more open, more less lazy. So in other words, good, the real true good in the world is very small. And what does it say in the 7th chapter of Tanya? This world is a ruba kakuli rakma atov me'ur b'socho. Only a little tiny bit of good is in the world, but that little bit of good is good. But nowadays it's very small. It is great maybe in quality, but in quantity, what do you see? The greatness of God in the world. You see, people are willing to sacrifice something in order to sacrifice something in order for the sake of Torah, for the commandments, for praying, for this. People do it, I'm talking about myself also. He says the holiness of the thing is something that's very small now, and it's very unnoticed, and it's very rejected. Who cares about making a holy, who wants a holy dime when you can make an unholy $1 million in the bank, right? With a holy dime, you can buy something, $1 million, you can buy a couple of cars, a yacht, who knows what. So says the Rebbe, nowadays, that's what's called from the other side. In other words, you can't feel in this $1 million that you're getting from your yacht and your car that there's a creator of the universe. But with this dime, you'll notice, there's a creator of the universe. The children grow up different, everything. Says in the future, it's not going to be that way. So that's what he says. That's why the wise, this clever person, he says, I'm going to pick the king. What does it mean, I'm going to pick the king? I'm going to pick the king means the king lasts. The king is permanent. These other people, these other fools, they choose the barons and this, and they have immediate access to the baron and to the duke and to the prince, and he'll give them all sorts of money, who knows what. And the king, sitting really high, But what, and who knows how much I can get from the king if I can even get in to see him. But the thing is, the king is permanent. If the king gives you something, then that's a permanent gift. Oh. He says, therefore, maybe we can say that's why the wise one, the clever person, he picked the king. He said, I want to pick, because the king is permanent, right? King is permanent. Good. Maybe it's not so big, maybe it's not so impressive, it's not so, in the newspapers, says the Rebbe, in the future, it's not going to be that way. In the future, we'll see that it's permanent. All the others will go away. That's what it says, all the others will go away. And we'll see that the true blessing really comes from the king. Then it comes from what's called Panimiut Makif, the inside of the surrounding level of godliness. Maybe should I explain to what this means? Let me explain this idea of the Makif and the Panimiut Makif. Just 1 second. This is especially in Purim, the holiday of Purim. According to Judaism, the message of Judaism is that God is really good and God creates everything. Everything that exists, every existence is being brought into existence by God. That's what God's name is. In Hebrew also, in the Tanya, it's explained in Shar Yichud Ve'emunah. But also in English, the Creator, which is the Creator. What does it mean, the Creator? He creates everything. Anything that exists, God created it. The angels, the planets, the powers, all these gods that all the other non-religions, all the other religions they believe in, they're just creations of God. God creates them all. He creates everything. No, it means that God creates Hitler. God creates Stalin. God creates all these Haman. He creates all these evil things. That's not nice. Okay, but it's true. God creates everything. There's not God and the devil, God and the world, right? God creates everything. And all there is, everything that exists is being created constantly by the Creator. This is 1 second. So, what are you trying to tell me? That God is creating evil all the time? So it must be, if He's creating it, it must be that He wants it. I mean, He's not by accident He's creating it. Just happened. Oh, God, forgot. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I left the lights on, right? But God, everything God does, He does intentionally. Good. Maybe you could say, good. He does it intentionally in order that we'll have free choices. But nevertheless, He's doing it. Where does this evil come from? Where does the level come from? So it says this evil comes from a level of godliness, which, I mean, evil and good, in the end, are creations. God created, God decided this is going to be bad and this is going to be good. Right? God decided a Jew should not eat not kosher food. No, Jew should not eat a cheeseburger. Can't eat it. Who decided? What's wrong with it? No, you should. Don't kill. Why is not killing? Why is killing bad? If you in communism, communist Russia, they killed like 50 million people. It's one of the biggest things. To kill a non-communist, a capitalist, one of the best things. You're getting rid of it. Hitler killed anybody who wasn't Aryan or whatever thing he made up in his mind. It was a tremendous mitzvah to go and kill people, right? You were wonderful. You came back a hero, right? Like they said, the only thing he did wrong, the Nazis did wrong, was lose. If they would have won, it would have been a whole different world. They say, and that's one of the reasons why he hated the Jews deep down. Same thing as Haman, because the Jews had this thing of absolute good and absolute bad. Absolute good. People don't like that. No, the thing is, there is absolute good. Who decided there's absolute good? The Creator, God decided. God decided. But there's a level of godliness that's even before He decided. And that's called the Makif. In other words, God decided. So let's talk about the level of God, not the decision of God. The level of God that He decided. No, this level of God, before He decided what is good and bad, there's existing good and bad, and God decided bad is not what I want, and good is what I want. So God, at this level, that's called the Makif. Makif means surrounding. It surrounds all distinctions. It's like the essence of God. This is what Haman realized. We just finished the holiday of Purim. There's a beautiful mimer in what's it called? Al Kain Korali Mimei Lupurim, by the Rebbe, that this Haman was a genius, and Haman realized. That's why he built this thing for 50 amas high. 50 is the mystical number, the 50 gates of understanding. Haman realized that God exists, and he realized that God is creating him. And he realized if God is creating me, then I'm going to appeal to this level of godliness that's creating me. this level of godliness that's creating me and giving me the ability to want to destroy the Jews, this comes from God. I want to get to that level. That level is called the Makif. That was called the Makif, the surrounding level. What can you do against that? There's no good and there's no bad. He could do whatever he wants to. Haman didn't know that there was this level, it says, called the Pinim Yotamakif. Pinim Yotamakif can only be attained, if you want to call it reached, by what's called Mesiut Nefesh. This is going to talk about in this minor also. Mesiut Nefesh, total self-sacrifice. Total self-sacrifice for the good, for God. Total self-sacrifice, above any understanding, above any knowledge. That's the whole miracle of Purim. Now, we're not talking about Purim, even though a little bit we're talking about Purim, because on the second day, there's an argument between the second day and the third day of Pesach. That's when Haman was hung. That's when Haman was hung, right? You remember the story. Haman threw lots. It was like in the beginning of Nisan, and the lots came out to destroy the Jews, God forbid, to destroy the Jews on 12 months later in Adar. And immediately when Esther heard about it, she made this feast, this feast with Achashverosh. She was fasting. She made this. And when was that feast? That was in the middle of the month of Nisan. Hey, Pesach. That year, all the Jews fasted. They didn't eat matzah. Now, you think you have it bad now with the corona stuck in their homes. And back then, nobody ate or drank 3 days. Didn't eat or drink. 3 days. And it was Passover. Like, no. It was the holiday of Passover. And they hung Haman. So there's a little bit of Haman is connected over here with immediately it fasted. Something the Shalah says it was on the second day of Passover, and then there's a Yalkut Shimoni. It says it was on the third day of Passover. When it was Baruch Hashem, they killed him. That's okay. You harget, and that's it. And the fact of the matter is that there still is a little Haman still alive now, and he's succeeding very well. And that's what the Rebbe says. He won't succeed. He's only temporary. It's only temporary. He comes from what's called the Makif, but the Jews, they come from what's called the Pniniyot Makif, the inside of the Makif. This inside level, this is, in the end, God wants the Jews, but he wants them on his terms. It has to be in his terms of what we call self-sacrifice. There's a beautiful mimer which is called Ata Tetzaveh, and it's the last mimer that was published from the Rebbe. And you can explain, you read that and you'll understand it. Okay, the mimer is out like it says. We're going to click it. Kamayim Razal, that's where we are. Hashpa, Mikadusha, then in the future, the benefit from the holiness will be Riboy Godel Yoter, Riboy Shinishpam Yechitzon Yosamaki. Then, like the Rambam writes, in the days of the Mashiach, Maimonides writes that in the days of the Mashiach, there were all the pleasures and the treasures of the world will be in plenty. People won't even care about them. Kamayim Razal, like the rabbis say, Im over Ratzono Kach, like the rabbis say, Im over Ratzono Kach, if people that sin, the transgress. This is the story was that the Rabbi Akiva and a few of the other great rabbis, these were called Tanaim, they walked in Yerushalayim where the Holy Temple was destroyed. They saw the Holy Temple was destroyed. The other rabbis, they saw it destroyed, right? And then afterwards they heard a big noise, partying, happiness, joy. I think this was when they were in Rome. Anyway, they heard the non-Jews, the Gentiles, that was the Romans back then. They were making these huge, massive parties and singing and dancing. And the other rabbis cried, and they said, look, the Jews are suffering, and these people are dancing. And Rabbi Akiva laughed. He said, what are you laughing for? He said, I'm laughing because because if those who go against God can have so much happiness and joy as those people who are doing God's will, how much more so they'll be happy. Okay, we know what came out of that. Rabbi Akiva was killed, he was tortured to death. But he was talking about now in our generation, how it's going to be. Well, we won't care about all the physical stuff, and nevertheless we'll have all of it. We'll be able to use it like the holy coin. Everything will be holy. Everything will be used for holy. But B or Z, must be. This is a really good explanation. That was the cleverness of the clever person. He chose the king because the king is permanent, and in the future everything is going to be good. He's going to get the king. They'll all get the barons. They're wasting their energy. They're putting their energy in for absolutely nothing. They're wasting. Says the Rebbe, this is not enough. According to this, according to this, he's not so smart. That's so smart. He just looked at the long shot, the long run. So it comes out that the difference between him and those other people that they chose, I just got a message over here that the thing is going to end in 10 minutes. So we've got 5 minutes. Even though the setting shouldn't be. Okay, we'll talk about that. If so, what's the wisdom of him? He thinks about the future. The others are just thinking about present. Like it says, I want it now, I want it all, and I want it now. That's what they thought. But the smart one, he thought what's going to be in the future. Al Derek, like it says, my Murazal, Ezu Chacham, who was a wise man, one who sees the future. That's good. That's pretty wise. Says the Rebbe, net. It says more than that, what it says in the Midrash, it says Yisrael ein ovdim elal HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that which the Jews only serve God, whom he is because Chelki Hashem Omanashi. It says there in the Midrash that the Jews serve God because my soul wants to be attached to God. It doesn't say they serve God because they want the future. Muchach, this means that what? That's what the wise son, the clever one. He chose the king. It's not because he's going to get benefits afterwards. It's not because he knew the stock market is going to go up or the other companies are going to go down. It's not because he knew that the evil is going to be finished and the Jews are going to be on the top. No. Ela mitzara melech. He did it because he loves the king. Hainu dezeshi Yisrael bochrim b'kodesh baruch hu. That which the Jews choose God. Av sha'achshav, even though that now riboy hashpa ila ovre ratzono, that the success goes to those who transgress God's will. It's not because afterwards he says, okay, you're going to get yours, but in the end, I'm going to win. That's not why they choose God. It's because, but because that which the people who are connected to God, what they get is, this comes from God's inside, the chefzo amiti, and God's true will, and that to the others who command the shared basar kasput, is that they get because from the back, the sono below baratsono. Therefore, why did this wise man choose the king? Because he wants the king, not because he's going to get benefits in the end. And I want to finish because it says we only have a short amount of time with a short story, that there was once a very rich man, and he passed away, and he says, and he heard once his wife saying that you should know that I have 10 sons, 9 of them are illegitimate. 9 of them were illegitimate children. So the father overheard this. When he dies, he left a will and testament. And he said, at my grave, my funeral, I want to tell all my children that the one who cries the most deepest, he gets the most money. He gets the most money. The funeral came, all the 10 sons, they started crying. They were crying, and 9 of them burst out crying, and they were hitting themselves and screaming, Daddy, I love you. And one of them was standing there, and he couldn't bear to do this act for the money. He was crying. So that one, the one that's crying, that he left in the will. The father left. The one that cries silently, that doesn't make any noise, that's my true son. The others are not my sons at all. They were fostered from other fathers. And it was the same thing over here. He doesn't think about the benefits. He's not thinking about he's genuinely connected to his father. The story I brought about dying is not such a good, but the connection is the deep connection. So that's what it means. It means the son, the wise one that chose the king, is not because he wants the benefits in the end. That also would be a type of wisdom, but that's not what we're talking about. The Midrash brings the example not to tell you how to play the stock market, how to do in business. Think of the long run. It's coming to tell you somehow or other your choice has to be such a deep one that all you're thinking about is the king, and we're going to talk about, God willing, in the next class. Have a good Shabbos, everyone. Good Shabbos.